This is I'MMIGRANT Podcast with Robinson.
Welcome everybody to our first podcast ever. This is the I'MMIGRANT Podcast, and I'm very happy to be your host. My name is Robinson Reyes, and today I have with me the creator, the founder, the mastermind behind this I'MMIGRANT project. She's Tetyana Tsomko. Ласкаво просимо. Можеш сказати щось українською, Тетяна?
Hello, everybody. Доброго дня усім. Ласкаво просимо на наше шоу, на наш подкаст. Сьогодні ми поговоримо про багато цікавих речей. So we're going to talk about many different useful and interesting things related to immigration, and it will be in English.
Дуже дякую. Thank you very much, Tetiana. Before we get into explaining what the project is all about, we want to know who Tetiana is, where you come from, please.
I'm originally from Ukraine, Chortkiev, which is in Ternopil Oblast. While I lived in Chortkiev and studied in Chernivtsi, I worked as an English second language teacher in Ukraine. And then in 2010, we moved to Montreal, Canada, Quebec. Well, since then, I have done many different things. Related to my professional development and career. Now I work for the Université de Montréal. I'm an instructional designer there.
Very good, Tetiana. So I believe you actually changed your career path from what you were doing in Ukraine. Could you go into more details? When you came to Canada, what was your thought process behind whether or not to continue doing what you were doing in Ukraine or change to something different?
Mm-hmm. Well, my very first job in Canada was cooking and cleaning one apartment that was downtown, like a multimillionaire's family lived there, and it was my very first job, and I remember it until now.
Are you a good cook?
Well, yeah.
Okay. That's probably why you found the job then.
Yeah, but it was very temporary while I was waiting for my French courses, Francisation. I did that. Then I studied French for a very short time because my French level was already okay. So I only did the last level. And I applied to study at the university and I was accepted right away. So I started to study and it was all in French and I found it so difficult to study in French. I felt I didn't have enough of French to do it well, and I studied at night all the time actually, and I was improving still my French. I took all possible courses I could during the day and I studied in the evening.
What college did you go to?
I applied to UQAM, Université du Québec à Montréal, to study adult education because I knew I wanted to work with adults, and then I understood I wanted to work with immigrants too, so adult immigrants. So that fit perfectly into my career vision. I switched later to Concordia, which is an Anglophone university, and I finished my master's in educational studies, concentration in adult education from Concordia. But during all my studies, I also worked. I worked full-time. I studied part-time or full-time. So before I finished my master's, I already had another diploma from college, which I did through RAC, Recognition of Acquired Competencies. I also already had work experience. So it was easy for me to combine everything I had from Ukraine, my work experience, my diplomas, and the local work experience and diplomas to get the job that I really loved and I did for a few years before I switched to university.
And in your previous job, before you actually switched to work at Université de Montréal, you were actually working with a lot of immigrants, correct?
Exactly. I was a pedagogical advisor and RAC advisor. Again, RAC is a recognition of acquired competences, or in all other provinces it's called PLAR, Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition. And exactly, probably 90% of my students were immigrants. I heard so many stories. I knew so many different parkour, and our goal actually of my team and me to help them integrate faster and better, to find the job that they would want to. So our goal was to help these immigrants in their adaptation process, helping them to prepare their CVs, their LinkedIn accounts, but the main was to prepare them for the job market.
Very good. So would you say that even though at that time you did not have the idea of this immigrant project, it was really there where you probably started thinking about something like this?
I never thought about this.
When did you think about this project?
I was so exposed to all the stories and the immigrant life, right? And most of my friends are immigrants, either from Ukraine or from other countries.
Right.
So when it's all around, like you kind of, you take it for granted. But then when I changed jobs, I was less exposed to that.
Right.
And it was probably a trigger for me to say, oh my God, I love doing that. I love helping people. I had this idea in the summer to start the project. In fact, I was meditating one day. It just came onto me like a gift. And I saw it in all its facets. I got the name right away, like the different sub-project that it could have, how it would look, where it would be, what would be the final result, and so on. So it's not that I thought what to start and how to start it. I had this idea in like within 5 minutes.
Like you got the idea in full. It was an illuminating
Exactly.
process right away.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. That's so interesting. And the name, it's probably very telling, but could you go into more details
Yeah,
on the
so
name itself?
we are all immigrants, migrants. Even if we live in Canada, but we just move from one province to another, we're still immigrants. Like with the globalization process, people just move around and they change a lot, right? Where they
Right.
live, where they work. So immigrant means that I am an immigrant, or I am a migrant, and it relates to any person that moved. Well, basically, it was created for people from different countries who moved to Canada and live now in Canada, or lived in Canada but then moved to another country. It happens also, right?
Right. It happens a lot too.
So this is probably the main audience of this project, but all the Canadians that have immigrants as their spouses, as their colleagues, neighbors, friends, will definitely find useful information in the project.
Very good. So Tetyana, what are the goals of the project?
The main goal of the project is to inspire immigrants, to teach them something that they probably don't know yet about the career development and even personal development in Canada, and how to succeed. It also shows the different vicissitudes of life that immigrants go through, so that other people would relate to those and could understand that it's not only my life that was difficult in the beginning or is still difficult. Everybody has gone through this, and now look, everybody is good. So it's really to show that whatever happens in the beginning after people immigrate may be difficult, may be unexpected, and maybe surprising and depressing sometimes, but it's
Right.
very temporary. So the project is really for those that need this inspiration, need even professional help, needs well, psychological, maybe more like encouragement.
More accompaniment, if you want to see it that way also.
Exactly. And while we add different sub-projects to it, we can help more people with the various needs. We started with only one focal point, that was storytelling. Then we added metamorphosis, which is the description of the professional transformation of a person. We see who the person was in their country in terms of occupation and who the person is now. And it's all through also storytelling, but through pictures too. Then we also had video interviews that I have done with interesting people on immigration. Very recently, we added expert advice series. This is the project where different authors of books, life coaches, and HR specialists, immigration consultants are giving one piece of advice in their recommendation that they consider to be the most important. And I actually love this part of the project because it's not just inspiring, but it's very useful. It's very practical. So I would recommend people to really follow those pieces of advice, because when I read those, I say, oh yeah, if I knew that 10 years ago, I would probably be in a different place now, or I would be here but faster. For example,
I agree
right?
with you. I read a few of them and I'm like, oh man, this is right on the spot.
Exactly. So see what's coming. And we also have this podcast, which is just launching. The people will be telling their stories, and they will be talking not just to immigrants that are here, but to their friends and neighbors and relatives in their countries who just are thinking to move to Canada.
Correct, yes.
Listen to them, follow them. There is no better person who could give you a piece of advice than the person who has gone through the process.
Definitely, yes. And so, Tetyana,
yeah.
you're talking about this different focal groups, these different blocks that compose or make a part of immigrant. Even though we're going to put it in the description, where could people go to find these references, this posts?
So for now, we are on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, you just type "immigrant" with apostrophe after I, or it could be, you could find it by @immigrant narrative. On Instagram, it's immigrant narrative. We are also on YouTube,
Very good.
right? Later this year, we're planning to create the website so that we move all the projects there, and we also add services like English language and conversation club, for example, for English and French, for example, different consultation services for immigrants, and so on and so forth. So that website will be encompassing everything, and it's more serious than just social media too.
Very good. So I see how the project is going to develop in the near future. Tetyana, how many people are currently a part of the project and who's able to join?
I would say that all people who contribute to the project are part of the project, active members of the project, because when they share either their piece of expertise or their immigration stories, they become part of the project. They become part of this platform. Now, the core team is definitely smaller. The people that are part of the active part of the project are Viorel Marginano, who's in charge of everything that is camera, shooting, montage. Now, Robinson, you, for example, you're in charge of the Immigrant podcast. We have Vera Selecka, who's in charge of the project, the sub-project Metamorphosis. And then we have Michelle Wellsford, who's taking care of social media, and partnerships. And definitely we're looking to add more members as we grow. We're looking to add more volunteers who have different ideas, different talents. So something that they really want to bring to the table to make the project go. And we're looking actually for people who have the same values probably as we do.
So anyone can join?
Anyone can join, anyone who would want to have some responsibility, who would assume this responsibility. So please contact us through our social media.
Tetyana, as an immigrant, what would be your main advices for first those that are still thinking about coming to Canada, and then for those who are already here but are still trying to figure out what to do with their lives?
So for those that are here, let's start with those. Well, congratulations, you are in a very good country.
I agree with that.
So don't take it for granted. Don't complain. Don't, I know that some people still compare. They say, oh, I was so much better in my country. Well, there was a reason why you left. Try to find things that are good here for you, for your family, and appreciate that and be grateful for that. Then another thing, don't listen to the naysayers. Just surround yourself with people who have got success already here. They will bring you up. They will give you the right piece of advice. They would, encourage you and believe in you because they have gone through it, right? So they know
Right.
that you are also able to. Just, eliminate the time that you spend with those people who are not growing, neither professionally nor personally, who are always complaining, I don't know, government, employers, the weather, everything.
Yeah.
Just eliminate limit the time with those people. And professionally, before you decide to change your profession, I did it intuitively, but I would say
Right.
I would recommend you to do it like that. I talked with a very good orientation counselor who actually showed me different paths that I could take, considering what I have as background and what I wanted my lifestyle to be in future. Another thing, before you want to change your profession, find a few people who are already having this job or that business, for example, and talk with them. The reality is probably very different from what your idea is, because we tend to idealize something that we do not yet understand. So that you don't regret after studying, after, spending many years on shifting to that new career, do your research right away, right from the beginning. Talk to the people, like through your connections, find those that already work in the area. Another thing, work on your language skills right away. It's so important. It's probably the most important from the very beginning that will define your professional success.
Yes. I agree 100%.
So language. So choose one language that you will focus on first. It can be French, for example, but then work on your English. Once your French is good established, work on your English too. That will increase your opportunities. Being an English second language teacher and also being a pedagogical advisor, my advice is also not to spend too much time on just taking language courses. Like language for language is nothing. Once you choose your profession, try to study right away in that target language, because I've seen people who spend like 3-4 years on studying just language, and they talk about the weather, in those classes, and they talk about a visit to a doctor and
Right.
travel, but it's not useful for you to grow professionally. So even if you're still kind of choosing the career, you can start from the college. Usually the language requirements are less strict there. So, but it would still build towards your career. So start with the college, study something there in the language. You will improve it tremendously, like within a very short period of time, and then you could go to university if you want. From the
Yeah.
very first day you are in Canada, build your network, connect with people, and then preserve those connections, nurture the relationships. You will thus build that circle of friends and colleagues for the future that will then help you to get your first job, your better
Yes.
job, to start your business if you are thinking about that. It's all about the number of people you know, not just about the number, but also the quality.
Yes.
So how you nurture those relationships is very important. This is something that is valuable. We tend, in our countries, we tend to be very relaxed. We have friends with whom we were friends since childhood, right?
Yes.
We don't need to know that many people. Like our parents know people, we know people, so that's fine. Here we need to build that new network.
How do you build the network? Where do we go to if we don't know where to?
Well, first use whatever you have already. Your language courses, your college courses, university courses, even colleagues from work, they can become very good friends. But also internations. Consider that. When I came to Canada, I used to attend those meetings that we had in person back then. I hope it will come back. But I met so many people there that with whom I'm still in, not with many, but still I'm in contact with some of those people that are very well established in Canada. You know, even two of them moved a province, but it's fine. It's
Right.
very nice actually. If I go there, I have somebody to have coffee with in another province.
You can also join meetup groups. You can also go to LinkedIn. You have to really be, again, for most of us immigrants, English or either French is our second language or third language. So when we were learning those languages, we had to be very fresh and outgoing. And when we saw someone that was coming from a country that actually spoke the language in our own home countries, we actually approached them and we started talking to them. So LinkedIn, what I tell you is, if you already kind of have your career path, what you want to do here in Canada, then go to LinkedIn, filter, and start looking for the people that are already, as Tatiana said, doing what you would like to do and start adding them. A lot of them are immigrants just like us, and they're going to reply back to you and probably provide some help.
There are different groups also, even on LinkedIn,
Yes.
according to the interest. So you definitely join the groups and
Don't
be
be shy.
active
Don't be
there.
shy.
And be active there. Don't just
Yes.
follow people to follow people. Just, you know, react, communicate, reach out to them, comment on what they are doing. And this is how people will be following you and will be watching what you are doing. So you will become noticeable.
Exactly. Yes. And so that's for the people that are already here. What are your advices for those who are still thinking about moving to Canada?
So a piece of advice for those that are not yet in Canada but are considering or are preparing already for the move because they
Right.
have all the papers already. So first, choose your province, choose the city. When you fill out the papers, you can definitely do it yourself if you can, like, read and write. What will help you is joining some forums, some groups with the people who are at the same stage. You will be helping each other to answer the questions correctly, to prepare for the interview, to prepare for the language test. So,
Right.
and this is how you can save a lot of money. So rather than somebody would do this job for you, I mean, fill out just papers, which is simple. Believe me, it's very simple to do. You can do it yourself and spend this money on other things, you know, either on language acquisition, or you bring a little bit more money to Canada with you.
Which is always needed and required.
Absolute, I tell you, it's very needed. Then join the different groups that are even on social media and ask your questions. Like there are different like local groups that would have local people, but definitely those groups accept people from abroad, especially if it's your nationality, if it's from your country. So
Yes.
if let's say if I take a Ukrainian group, so we have in each province and even in each city, we have a separate Facebook group. So for Edmonton, it would be Edmonton Ukrainski. For all Quebec, it will be Café Quebec UA. Toronto, it's Ukrainian moms in Toronto. And there you just go in, you ask to be admitted, and you ask your questions, and people are eager to help others. Even after you come, they can help you with furniture, some things of the first necessity. And the first year, you can just choose something, let's say a small apartment, not a huge one, so that you figure out what area you want to live in. Where are the best schools that your children can go to? So look around the first year, focus on the language, on network, on deciding what you really want to do in life for next 10 years, for example, right? Where do you want to live exactly? What neighborhood, which area do you want to move, to change the province even? It happens too. All these first steps are very important.
І зараз я хочу слухати тебе українською.
Дорогі українці, підписуйтесь на наш канал, слідкуйте за нами на Фейсбуці, на Інстаграмі, дивіться наші відео і слухайте наші аудіо, інтерв'ю. Повірте мені, ви знайдете дуже багато корисної інформації, тому що люди, які беруть участь в проєкті, вони знають, що вони кажуть. Вони хочуть допомогти іншим, тому що вони розуміють, які можуть бути нелегкі перші роки в еміграції. І читаючи кожен новий пост в iMMIGRANT, ви щось для себе те візьмете. Навіть якщо це буде одна фраза, одна ідея, це вже вартує того, що ви витратите ваші, 5-10 хвилин на прочитання чи на прослуховування того чи іншого сюжету.
Тетяна, дуже дякую за інтерв'ю. Я дуже радий, тому що you were here with us today. We're looking forward to have you again on your podcast, on the iMMIGRANT podcast. And to those that are listening, please reach out to us. We're looking for many other stories, many other people to interview from every single nation in the world. And we're going to be here for you when you need us. Thank you, Tetyana.
Thank you for having this conversation with me, and thank you for taking charge of this podcast. So, iMMIGRANT podcast with Robinson Reyes. Join us.
Until next week, thank you.
Like the video, follow us, put your comments there. See ya.
See ya.
This was IMMIGRANT Podcast with Robinson.